Okay, recording. Good. So, hello everyone. I'm here with my lovely guest, Dilara. Hello, Dilara.
Hi, lovely.
Hello. So, Dilara is a relationship and conscious dating coach. And the reason why I'm having her here is because I believe she's one of the coaches out there that is authentic, that knows what she's doing, and she's always over delivers. So I just love to have her as a friend, and I think she's playing such a significant role in my life, and I wanted to give you the option and give you the ability to get to know her a little bit and also learn from her, because she's full of knowledge. As you can see, her bookshelf she's full of knowledge and she's just amazing. So how are you, Dilara?
I'm very well, thank you, Taya. What a beautiful introduction. So I have to make sure that I live up to that beautiful intro.
I'm sure you will. So for us to start, the first thing that I want to ask you is, of course, I want my audience to get to know you a little bit. So I would just ask you for a little introduction, and if you can tell us specifically, maybe what would you say that are significant events in your life that shape you to the person that you are right now?
Oh, there are so many. Where do I start?
Whatever pops up.
Well, I guess the significant event for me to move to London in 2000 when I was 22. At that time, I graduated from university and I come to London. I just wanted to speak better English so I could go back to Turkey and find a better job. That was the whole intention behind it. And when I came here, I couldn't speak English at all. And I didn't know anybody. I came as an au pair. So it was, I was completely out of my comfort zone.
And your home country is Turkey, right?
Turkey, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And I would say that it probably was one of the hardest things that I ever did in my life, because things are, for me, comparing to 2000, which was like 19 years ago now, so much easier, because at that time we didn't have any translation or things like that. I used to go everywhere with a mini pocket dictionary. So I used to go to the pub, I used to go through and just say what I want to order. It was crazy, honestly. Now it's so much easier. Yeah, I would say probably that shaped me the most, because when I was living in Turkey, I had pretty much everything I wanted, and I had a part-time job. I was earning really well. I had my car. I had everything. It was quite easy when I came here, and suddenly I became an au pair, and I was cleaning someone else's house. Couldn't understand what they were saying. It was very, I wouldn't say humbling, but there was a bit shock as well to the system, because you're thinking, oh my God, this is a completely different life. So I guess that did humble me a lot and ground me big time, to kind of like bring me down to earth, and just like, oh, this is what real life is. So that would by far was my life-changing event. And the one after that, I would say quitting my corporate job after about 10 years working in a corporate job, which was really hard for me, as you can imagine, Taya, because you understand this probably the best. I don't know, obviously it's going to be different audience that we don't know who's exactly going to be listening or watching, but as a foreigner, when you come to this country, sometimes the options are so limited. And I came from a country like Turkey. It's not even part of the EU, so there's no work permit, there's no nothing. And I just, like I said, I came here with no English skills, language skills. I'm not knowing anyone, not even having a work permit, and I found myself. I didn't find myself. I made my way to corporate, where I was working in incredible British-based companies, and it was, for me to let that go, it was really hard, because I guess that in a way that I did attach my identity for that success, if you like, because it was really hard for me. But I think my heart is always knew that that wasn't something that I wanted to do for long term. And it did come to the point that I'm like, I can't do this anymore, because we always talk, you and me sometimes, it's that, your soul speaks to you, like
Yes.
it whispers, and that's, this is not cool, you're not enjoying it, right?
Yeah.
You want to do something else, and you go like, shh, be quiet, I'm good, look at my life, right? Shh, I know you're hearing me, come on, you gotta do something. And then you go like, shh, go away, it took me so long to get here, just la 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 la, you're like, I'm not hearing anything.
Exactly.
And then it goes louder, it goes like, hey, I'm telling you, I know you can hear me. You go like, no, I'm not hearing you. Then boom, something happens in your life, because it's like, okay, you're ignoring me, and I'm telling you, I'm your soul, I'm telling you the truth, you have to do something about it. And that shows up sometimes. A breakdown, actual breakdown, could be mental breakdown, marriage breakdown, relationship breakdown, loss of someone that you love, or it could be illness, something. It's a shame that we always, not always, but majority of us have to get to that point to do something.
Yeah.
And when I look back, I guess I could stop and quit before. But I think that where I was at, I couldn't see how it would look like, if it makes sense, because I was like, okay, I've got a full-time job and I'm paying my pension, whatever it is, and I'm getting promotion, I'm getting pay rise, and yada yada yada. I just couldn't see how different things look like. And when you take that big step, if you like, after for a while you go like, oh my god, why didn't I not do it before? And you just realize that it's just sometimes you have to take the leap, even if you don't see it, and just know that you will see when the time is right. And I would say, I guess the biggest thing is that I learned to trust, even when I don't understand what's happening. Trust that I'm okay, I'm guided, I'm safe. That I would say was my biggest lesson. I think
Amazing.
Everything I do, and for me, this is as, forget about the coach and forget about everything else, as me, as Dilara, my biggest lesson in my life, that trust. Universe got your back. It's okay, it's all right. You need to follow your heart, you need to follow your soul, you need to listen to that voice, that, especially when it's whispering, otherwise it's going to get really loud and it's going to get really painful and you won't be able to go anywhere. I would say those two were the biggest for me.
That's so inspiring. I feel like a lot of people will really be able to connect to that. And I feel like that's kind of like all of us goes through this kind of a process, especially because we are so forced to believe what is right for us, that we just follow certain kind of rules. But as you said, you came to the point where you were successful, it was like you were attached to that success. It was awesome on the outside, but just you within, you knew that there's something missing. So in that case, as I'm telling people a lot of times, that you just have to be a little selfish and not consider what will other people say, or what will your parents say that you left such a good job. So how did you deal with that? Did you had any this guilt for just doing a leap of faith on your own, or was it by the time when it was so painful you just knew that you had to do it? Probably.
Yes, you always have people. I mean, I have been blessed at that point, I guess, that I had a good group of friends who were really supportive. But of course, I had people say, "Are you sure? I mean, you're not that young. Thanks for the honesty, right?" You know how to make a girl feel good about herself, right? It's you're not that young and you have worked really hard, and you do understand that if at any point you want to go back, it would be challenging for you, because it's going to be a big gap in your CV. So there's a lot of things to scare you. because majority of people, and I look, this is not about criticism or judging anyone, but most people want safety and comfort, and this is like one of the two, top human needs is safety. We just want to feel safe and we want to feel comfortable. And when you put yourself in a position that you won't be safe, a lot of people go like, "Are you crazy? So why would you do that?" So what's your plan B? Like, I don't know, dude. Like, I wanted to do this 10 years ago. I only done corporate because I thought that was what I was supposed to do. I didn't. I mean, that's the other thing. Is like I knew I always wanted to be a coach. I was always wanted to be in a personal development. It was something I always wanted to do, but I was full of excuses and fears. I would say it wasn't maybe excuse. I think it was a fear because I was thinking, oh my God, I want to be a coach, but can't speak English properly. I want to be a speaker, but I have an accent and I've never been a speaker. How is that even going to happen? And then I thought, okay, this is where I belong. I sit behind a computer all day, every day. I'm hiding. So it's okay. I don't have to give speech and I don't have to do the talks and I don't have to do coaching. But the thing is, sometimes what we want to achieve, what's our source purpose, if you would like to call that, it's so much bigger than us. And that's why it's harder for some people. And I was thinking about it more and more. I actually did read it somewhere else the other day and saying, look at Oprah became Oprah, but it was never perfect. She was actually, when she was interviewing people, she wasn't interviewing in the news channel. She was actually sitting down and crying with them. So it was quite bad for her to do that because her job was creating news. But she was thinking, these people are, going through so much pain. I don't want to interview these people. And she was feeling their pain. And she actually got sacked from her job because of that.
Wow.
And look where she is.
Yeah.
So sometimes what we're supposed to do in life, our soul purpose, whatever you would like to call our aim or whatever, follow our heart, sometimes it's bigger than us. It's not going to given to us easily. I mean, I remember I knew I wanted to be a coach. I knew I wanted to be a speaker. I was the biggest fan of Tony Robbins, but every time when I saw him on the stage, I'm like, I can never talk like him. It's just not possible for me. Then you just realize that, yes, you won't be Tony Robbins, but you're going to be Dilara Tetik. And it's okay. You don't have to be that. And that's kind of like, that really requires to go dig deep. And when people say to me, for example, oh, but you want to do that, but you realize that your English is not great. And just say, well, yes, I know it's not, but let me try it. Yeah. Let me try it. Because it's not the skills that we have, it's our passion, it's heart, it's our soul is actually gives us that power.
Exactly.
That's what I found heartbreaking, I guess, that in a way that so many people, they saw their heart, they just want them to go somewhere else. They know they want to do something else, but they stop themselves and they think, okay, what everybody going to say? What if I can't do that? What if they like, so what? But what if you can achieve it?
Yes.
And sometimes, like you say, sometimes you have to be selfish. Sometimes you just need to say, hey, everybody, I appreciate your concern, but this is my life. And I would really need your support right now. And I'm just going to go for it. And either you would, you can come with me or I can go on my own.
Yeah. That's amazing. It's funny because that's exactly like how I felt like on my journey, and especially the same thing about English. I had so many people like telling me like, oh, forget about it. Like, you're in Britain and people that are native, they don't want to listen to someone that is not. And I'm like, watch me. Because, it's always like, it just takes time. And it's like, I remember when I first started like recording videos for like YouTube, it was just like I know my English was terrible, but my desire was so strong that I just needed to do like this stuff. And it's like you said, you just have to have that inner passion that is coming from within, it doesn't really matter like your level of skills. Like if you do something consistently, you will always improve. So if you are like want to be a speaker and you have a speaking gig like 3 times a week, like within like few years you can become like one of the top speakers. So it's just the skills will always be there, but the passion is the thing that a lot of people is lacking because they don't have the courage to follow their heart. So how would you say, how was your transition? Like why exactly did you end up in relationship coaching? And how was that transition? Like, did you just like, I don't know, like for example, for an upcoming coach that is kind of thinking the same way and they want to do the same thing, how did you start? What was the process?
Well, for me, I started as a life coach because I train as a life coach. I'm actually a fully qualified life coach, and I didn't have a niche. I just wanted, and this is the funny thing. Do you know what, Taya? I don't know what you think. I know what you think actually. I think I know what you think. You know, sometimes like we say things, but we don't realize that we actually setting the intention for the universe to give it to us. Mm-hmm. I remember the exact words I used to say the first 6 months of when I started my as a life coach. I'd be like, I'm not going to choose a niche. I want the niche come and choose me. Because I was interested with everything. Obviously not health and fitness and those kind of things, but mindset, relationships and all that kind of stuff. And I just want to try everything. And for me, the biggest thing that I start to do free talks. Again, for someone who's so scared of public speaking, it was a perfect place. I remember the first time when I was doing meetup, I literally just, I was praying. I was like, "Dear God, please just let maximum 5 people and 5 people show up. But only my friends, so five of them. So then I won't be embarrassed, and it's okay. You know, it's just I remember 15 people showed up, and I think it was 2 or 3 of them were my friends, and now like, thank you for that. That's not what I asked for. But then I started to talk about things interest me. Mm-hmm. That was my starting point. That's what I always recommend people, because it would be tricky to coach about the things that you're interested, because coaching, we have a lot of responsibility, because coaching is not about us, about the client. So I wouldn't feel comfortable about coaching about the things that I want to coach about. If it makes sense, they're paying me money and they kind of like trust me, they rely on me on certain things. But speaking is a completely different ball game. I'm a speaker. You know, I have my notes and I tell them like where I got them. And then I start to talk about stuff. First, I start to goal setting. I can't believe that I was talking about that. And then I start to talk about self-love. And then suddenly I start to talk about masculine and feminine energy. And it's fascinating how the universe works. At that time, there was someone that I was friends with. He was coming to every single my talk, and we end up having a relationship. Mm-hmm. And I started to talk about, I'm very actually shy. People say you're very confident. I'm not. I am so shy, and I'm so sometimes like I'm not that confident basically, and I'm quite shy. But that relationship, a lot of stuff came up for me for various of reasons, and every week I started to talk about the stuff was showing up for me in the relationship because I was doing the work. It was 1 week, for example, I was talking about jealousy because the previous week I had a jealousy fit, which something I don't normally do, and I had to do the work because obviously I do walk the talk. I don't just talk. I mean, you look at these books, but I don't just read from the books. Every single thing there, I got the books because I wanted to understand my own behavior and what was going on with me, if it makes sense. Not just because I bought the books and I want to talk about it. So I experienced jealousy, and I'm like, okay, this is very unusual, and this was quite an extreme episode. I'm like, I wonder why I had that. And then I started to do the research about jealousy, and I said, well, next week we're going to talk about jealousy. And I just literally told them how I felt and how I react and how embarrassed I felt after that and what was happening to me. And people felt really connected because even the person I was giving the talk, and he was like, I can't believe that how courageous you are. Your vulnerability is incredible. I'm like, well, it's not vulnerability. If I just sit here, I just say to people that, look at me, how great my relationship is. How is that going to make people feel? Because not true. My relationship wasn't perfect. I wasn't perfect. I still am not perfect, far from it. And then different week, I was talking about self-sabotage, because I was finding myself to pushing him away for absolutely no reason. I was thinking, why am I doing it? And it was self-sabotage. Obviously, like, I was talking about it, but it was always like my fault. Do you know what I mean? That was a different story. Yeah. Anyway, but I'm okay with that, you know, because I know who I am. I took full responsibility of everything. So I started to talk about masculine and feminine, like I said, attachment, because I realized that there were certain things, and I started to talk about codependency. I started to talk about, like I said, jealousy, insecurity, trust. And I realized that, like, and each week the audience, that we started from 10, and by it became to the point that the audience were doubling every week. People were coming, people were telling each other, and the coaches start to come, because they're like, my God, nobody's talking about it the way that you're actually talking. Because I was really honest, Taya.
Yeah.
I was saying, well, I just had a super jealousy fit the other day. I kind of out of the house, and these are exactly the things that I said, and I am a coach, so nobody's perfect, and it just happens. And I'm like, I just don't care, because you know that I realized that there's a lot of people needed to hear that. And I realized that I built such strong connection with people, and I built such a tribe, because they were coming to me, they were like, oh my God, thank you so much for saying that. Because I experienced the same thing, but I couldn't speak to anyone because I was so embarrassed. But now you told me, and you're talking about, for example, you know, attachment, things like that. I just realized that while I was showing up in the relationship the way it was, it's amazing. Thank you so much. And I was like, none of this is a coincidence.
Yes.
And then I just got into relationship thing, not for anyone, for me. Because relationships always have been my biggest pain point. I was married for an incredible man for 6 years, and I end up walking away from that marriage. And I never understood why until I start to do those talks. And I'm like, the person I'm giving this talk, it's me. Like 5-6 years ago, needed me. So I always say to people, if you don't like me, that's cool, because I like me, because all me loves me. Do you know what I mean? Because I need me.
That's such a good perspective. That's amazing.
I'm like, maybe you're emotionally more mature than me. Maybe you come from such a great family that your mom and dad have great, you know, relationship. Maybe you have emotional intelligent than me. But I know there's me out there. I'm not on my own. There are so many of them, and they need me. It's okay if you don't like my stuff, but I do, and she does. And then I just carried on, and I started to work with couples, and there's a lot of people said to me that, you feel okay about working as couples? I'm like, yes, I've got enough experience of that. I've got training on that. I started work with couples, which is, I absolutely love that. There's nothing more beautiful than you see two people coming there totally in their ego, and then suddenly like really step into their heart and build that connection and really understand what both their needs. And as you can tell, I'm so passionate about relationships. That's my thing. Relationship and conscious dating. And the reason I say conscious dating, I don't do pickup artist. I got no intention or desire to help you, a man or woman, to have to bag a rich man or a hot girl to get into bed. I'm all about consciousness. I'm all about self-awareness. You'll be surprised how many people are reaching out to me. I'm not your coach. And because I do believe that a lot of people, majority of people's pain point is actually relationships, and that's it. That's what I know. This is going to be something I'll be doing for the rest of my life.
That's so beautiful. It's amazing. Like really, like I'm just like listening here, like That's for me right now. Oh, that's so inspiring. Like, really, because actually what I feel like what I created with this podcast is like, especially like as it came through me the first time, like on the introduction, it's for me. I need to tell myself those specific topics, and I want to discuss them more and more and more, so that I'm like having, the practice of like teaching it and then like learning it even like on a deeper level. And I love that like aspect of just, following yourself and just doing it for yourself and not really caring who's with you, because the right people will come anyway. So yeah, that was very inspiring. Thank you so much. But since you are so like into the relationship, we also want to hear some things about the relationship, and like, because that's the area that I'm not saying that I don't coach, because it's like, as you get a person, you usually go through everything. So it's not like it's totally out, but it's not my niche. So I definitely want to hear from your perspective. How do you see like how do you see relationship? Because for me it's I feel like the crucial part is like I was always afraid, or I would say like in all the previous relationships that I had, I always lost myself in the relationship. So it was like I was always like that kind of a girl that would come, I would be super excited in the beginning, and then I would just become so like chasing and so possessing, and like, so I just want to hear your approach or your principles behind a good quality relationship.
This is a great question, and this is what I said, that there's a lot of people's pain points, because I was that girl at some stage, and majority of the girls go through the same thing. What is a quality relationship? Quality relationship is actually, it's very emotionally intelligent, which now it's called conscious relationships. Actually, conscious relationships it's all about emotional intelligence. And what is that? Two people coming together, a purpose is actually bigger than them. Because a lot of people get into relationships, they don't know why they get into relationships. I know why they get into relationships. They've done with being single, or they see that all their friends and family or whatever is relatives are getting into relationships. They feel like, okay, I better get into a relationship. Or they feel like, okay, I'm getting a bit old, so it's time to get into a relationship. Or they watch too many romantic movies or look at in social media to ideal looking couples and thinking like, yay, I want to have the powerful, I want to be a part of the power couple, right? So these reasons, all of it, you can tell these are not healthy reasons, are they? So these are that you don't get into a relationship like that.
Yeah, but I feel like it's really happening a lot, and I'm guilty of that. I was like trying to push a couple of relationships just because of that, and yeah, so
that's okay. It's not like, oh my god, it makes you a horrible person. This is the reality. That's why it's more and more people are actually feeling lonely and lonely. I don't know if you know this. Okay, this might be out of topic, but it's not. Bear with me. As actually, I don't know, last year, 2016 or 2017, there is actually an MP for loneliness in Parliament, in UK Parliament. So do you see what I mean? And stats show that one of the reasons is a lot of people living on their own now, or like less people getting married, and more people getting divorced, and more people just, end up living on their own. It's because majority of people lost the concept of what a relationship is. Yeah. Right? And what is, going back to your question, that what is a healthy relationship? As a healthy relationship is like two emotionally mature as much as possible people who take up and own up their own shit, if you like, if that's okay, just to talk about that in your podcast.
Of course.
And they know what they bring into that relationship. So there's no when I say there's no, okay, what I'm trying to say that they consciously decide they're going to work through that, and they are going to support each other with that. So when your shit comes up in that relationship, I'm just going to say, hey babe, you know your shit is coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to hold space? But please don't project it on me, because it's not mine, but I love you, I'm here for you, but you need to take your ownership of that, and you need to work on that, and I'm happy to hold space for you.
Yeah.
Right? Not projecting and kind of like going crazy, and vice versa, because it's all about my shit, your shit, and our shit. That's for me. Okay. What is the perfect relationship, Dilara? You know, the perfect relationship where two people say, my shit, your shit, our shit. That's true. That is a perfect relationship.
That's the rawest truth. That's
It's true.
perfect. Yeah, it's perfect.
I'm not going to say that, oh, you know, people like that, because it's not true, because we human beings, our childhood stuff comes up, our wounds come up. You know, we act weird, and grown-up men act like a little boys, and grown-up women act like little girls, and, you know, and it's okay. But it's all about having that level of awareness, right? And understand that. And I always say that it's about every day choosing each other consciously. Okay, because there's a difference. Because some people getting married. Let's talk about marriage, for example. People get married, and then they say, "Okay, I'm married now." Once when you get married, it has to be like that. You can't get out. And I always say that is a really unhealthy way of thinking about it. That you want to stay in this marriage because you feel like you have to stay in the marriage. But how about you choose to stay in this marriage, and you choose to be with your partner, and you choose to work through with your partner whatever life throws at you? Because then when you choose it, that means it's my choice and I'm in control. Right? It's not like I have to stay in this, because that means someone else make that decision. Exactly. Your thing is selfishness. It's selfishness for me. I choose you. I choose to be with you. No matter what happens, no matter life throws at us, we could experience death, whatever, illness, whatever, you know, but I choose you over anyone and under any circumstances. That is a different thing, because with that, you take your responsibility and you make that, you know, choice. It's not something that you have to do it, or you didn't get married just by accident or because you had to. Yeah. That's what I would say. It's the two things. Like, really consciously understand what's your stuff and what's that person's stuff, and what's the relationship's shit, like I said. And the other thing is just choosing each other over anyone under any circumstances. That is, for me, the definition of healthy relationship and marriage.
Yeah, that's wonderful, because I always say, like, love is not enough. You have to choose someone. You know, it's like, yeah, you can get in love and it's all good in the beginning, but then it's about the choice. And like, as you were saying that, like, you have to deal with your stuff. I have to like say that in my relationship, I'm like, it's the first one that I would like describe as a conscious relationship, because before that, all the men were just like, you know, we like to label them as narcissists, like projecting the blame on me, and like always trying to chase them and push and whatever. So, but in this one, I just see that whenever, because I still have the tendency to do the same. So I would still, like, when I feel like I'm not getting enough love, or I feel like, usually it's like, if I'm not feeling good, if there's something wrong on my side, then I would be like, yeah, Joey, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. But the difference now is that he would be like, what? Like, it just usually, I'm just starting, like, I'm just saying, like, oh, you never call me. Yeah, I called you yesterday. You never do this. Yeah, but I did that yesterday. Like, it's always like, I'm just coming up with strange stuff. And the good thing about him is that he would always be like, you know what, I see like where you're going, and I see that there's something that is going on with you. Don't project that on me, because I didn't do anything. Like I'm here, you can talk to me, you can do whatever you want, but you know, like don't put it on me, because it's not my thing. And in that point, I tend to get like super angry, like not really on him, but like I'm just like, because I know he's right, but it just hurts me because like that girl didn't get what she wanted, you know. So I feel like it's amazing way to grow through the relationship. It's especially when you don't, and I feel like it has to be like two people that are like strong enough to not allow another person to manipulate them, you know, because as soon as one of them is like having more control over another or just manipulating, then it just becomes like abusive relationship. How do you see those stuff? Because you have like such a like professional view on all those things.
First of all, I wanted to say something. Like I think there's one thing we need to be quite careful. We all need to be very careful, because you said that sometimes we call the other person narcissist. Yes. So there's two things that's happening recently for the last year or so. If someone doesn't do what you want to do, it's called narcissist. That's a different thing. Okay, that's reality. But it doesn't take away the fact that there are some people narcissists, and there are some people get seriously emotionally, psychologically, sometimes even physically, spiritually abused in those relationships. So I'm very careful with what I say, because I know, we both know, people actually been through, you know, in narcissist relationships, and that kind of abuse, like any abuse, it takes a long time. I would say, you know, we recover from physical abuse so much faster than psychological or emotional or spiritual abuse. That's a different thing, because you don't understand what's going on, right? You think you're crazy.
Yeah.
It's the difference that you actually let yourself go completely crazy, right, over something, because you want to throw a tantrum. Maybe at that time, maybe you want a little bit of attention. Maybe, you know, sometimes you just want to sabotage yourself. You just want to show yourself that, okay, here we go. I don't know, like I believe that, for example, I've done that before, because I'm just going to be really honest. Is that okay, Tyler?
Of course.
Kind of more benefit. Like I gave Valentine's Day special talk last week, and it was just the best talk that, not that I gave, like the feedback was incredible. It was a truly transformation talk for everybody who attended. And what I told them, like, for the last 2 years, I learned so much about relationships, and I'm not reading from the book. I live everything. Okay. I know how it feels, and I can identify that. I know where it's coming from. So it's very important for people to understand that when a relationship turns to toxic, and it doesn't mean that it's other person's fault, okay? Because sometimes, like for me, that I know in the past that I pushed amazing man away, it was because that for me that I never had my dad with me, and I just, you know, realized that for the last 2 years I was still trying to get that love from my dad that I haven't received. I think I should have. But if you ask me that, I'm like, I'm good, girlfriend. Life is great. You know, I'm doing everything on my own. I'm a strong, independent woman. Yeah, I am. But that little girl is still looking for that love from men. You know, that safety, that security. And when I'm in the relationship, not in see, that's the thing, is like in every relationship we grow in a different way, because for me it never showed up, and you know, in many relationships, apart from one. And I was like, okay, just let me see that how much I can push, and that is he gonna stay, right? So it sometimes is our mind in those games. And so it's very important to know. And like you said, this is what happens, that when you get into a relationship, I call it conscious, but you can call it mature man.
Yeah.
You know, emotionally mature man, because no disrespect to anyone, but I and this is not labeling, but I separate people: boy, man, girl, and woman, right? Sometimes in that relationship, that little boy can come up, but that man needs to step in. To kind of like deal with that, and just say, hey, okay, I understand what's going on. So what you describe in your relationship, that your little girl came up, and Joey came as a man. But if he let himself like come as a boy, which majority of the time happens in the relationships, he would bring his stuff and he would actually just literally start to project his stuff on you too, right? Or he would start to call you mature, he would start to call you crazy, all those kind of things, right? Because that is a boy's reaction. But he showed up as a man and he said, hey, Tyler, I understand what's going on. I can see that there's something going on with you. So he acknowledged your little girl, pain, in pain at that time. And he said, let's sit down and talk about it. But don't project it on me because this is not about me. Which kind of course, it just, you were a bit like, oh my God, like, what am I supposed to do? But it kind of, like you said, it puts you in a situation, okay, I have to grow up now, because, he's not playing that game. Like, I have to grow up because he's not acting like a boy. He's acting like a man. So what he's doing, he's raising your standards, if you like. And then you're like, okay, I have to act like a woman too.
Yeah. That's a very good explanation. Yeah. And I feel like we all have like it is this girl and a boy within us. And I like, now that you said it this way, I feel like the crucial part is specifically for like, even when he comes as his boy, that I come up as a woman, like, so it's like, that's a very good, I never thought about it that way, but that's exactly how it feels like. Yeah. It's like that little girl that just want to get everything. And if I get a man, then I'm like, I'm angry for a while, but then I'm like, I adore him for doing that. Like, that's the best thing that he does to me, even though in that like specific moment, I'm always like, like really angry. But afterwards, I'm just like, wow, like, thank you for doing that, because it really like gives me like, kind of like, it's I need to step up, it's like, I need to like let go of that old me. So yeah, that's a very good perspective. Thank you for that.
My pleasure. Because
did I pay for a coaching hour now?
I'll send you the invoice later.
Okay, good.
But this is the thing, is like, he basically was just seeing your little girl, and you had to bring up that woman.
Yeah.
And that is what I call conscious relationships. But like I said, that's just a label, because I have to say something to separate it. But that's a mature relationship.
Yeah.
In time. And I want to go back to the whole thing about the narcissistic relationships.
Yes.
There are some relationships in turning into toxic because there are different personality types, okay? And sometimes those different personality types show up in different relationships, and it depends on the person we're with. Majority of the time, narcissistic relationships it's very common when someone being abused in their childhood. And it could be in any way. It could be physical, it could be emotional, it could be whatever it might be. Sometimes like their parents could be actually narcissistic, like proper narcissistics. Narcissistic word of like, people find it like, oh, like it's so scary, but it's truth. It's truth, and it does in a way that it breaks my heart. That is a lot of people who go through that. The main thing they feel is a shame, and they don't talk about it. And that is basically, Brené Brown. She talks about vulnerability and shame, right? She says the only thing that actually heals shame is vulnerability and courage. So when people going through, because what happens is majority of the people go through narcissistic, abusive type of relationships is actually very, very successful, strong, smart, intelligent woman. Men, please don't think that I'm being sexist, but the researchers show that as a percentage, it's so much more women than men. So I'm not saying that men doesn't actually experience that, but majority of the time is women. And when you look at them, majority of them, they're successful, they're smart, they got, they're independent. And when they experience something like that, it's very embarrassing for them to talk about it. It just creates shame. And then they choose not to talk about it. And if they talk about it, they get judged and they get shamed more. So shame never going to heal shame. It's only vulnerability and honesty and acceptance is actually going to heal shame. And narcissistic relationships, it's very much true. It's very much existed. This is not just a label, because sometimes that, you know, you get into a relationship and the other person, they don't do it from a bad place. But when someone is being abused so badly when they're young, and I'm saying that with so much love and compassion, if they haven't healed those wounds, and it takes a long time to, you know, to heal that abuse that they experience, basically the abused become the abuser when they grow up, if that makes sense. They
Yes.
don't do it consciously, but they do it.
Mm.
It doesn't take away that they do it. It doesn't mean that they're horrible people, but it doesn't take away the abuse they actually let the other person feel. And there's a lot of people who will say that, oh, but, you know, self-love and you need to be this and you need to be that. I'm like, no, please be careful what you're saying, because when you love somebody so much, especially when people, it happens that when they get into a relationship that who has been abused in their childhood one way or another, the level of empathy and compassion for the other person, it's extreme, and it's blinding. It's blinding. You don't even see it. So basically you get to the point that you want to save the other person. You want to show them they're loved and appreciated, and then their wounds just come up. And then they start to manipulate things, and they start to say, like, because they see that love is coming from the other person, they start to test it in incredibly unhealthy ways. Not like a little, you know, like you were saying, that you throw a tantrum like a little girl. That's quite innocent, actually, in so many ways. But their way is like become very manipulative, and it becomes very toxic. And most of the time that you don't even understand you're in that relationship by the time it's ends. And when it's ends, you just like drug addict, just taking, just came out of it, and you literally would do anything and everything to have another shot.
Yeah.
Right? You just become so desperate because you used to it. You're I mean, that poison has already spread your body psychologically, emotionally, in every single way, and it's gone. But that's the time that they get their kick. See what I mean?
Yes.
And that's what it's called, that narcissistic, because it's satisfying for them to look, because that's why they start the love bomb. They just give everything. They just say, like, I don't know, like, I'm gonna marry you, you're the most incredible woman or man like I ever met in my life, like you're everything I ever wanted. And they say everywhere, and then you're thinking, wow, okay, maybe this is the love that people are talking about. And you open up, and then they just slowly poison you with that abuse that they have experienced. And then they take what they want, and because they get fed by that your energy, and by the time they're gone, it's too late, and you have no idea what happened. And that's why that recovery period takes much longer. I know this is not about that, but I think it's very important to talk about it, because there is such a thing called narcissistic empath relationship dynamic, but there is such a thing called when people don't take responsibility of their own behavior, they project their stuff and say, he's a narcissist, she's a narcissist.
Yeah. I feel like when this is happening, because I definitely see that in some of the, like, in my longest past relationship that I had, I would never say for myself that I was a narcissist, but I was manipulating big time. Like, I was playing a victim, but that was, as you said, like, coming from that, me not taking responsibility for myself and just playing a victim all the time. And, you know, kind of like in a more innocent way doing this. But yeah, I was always like, I didn't understand the label correctly. So I sometimes felt like, wait a second, I'm not no better than like narcissists that I label them. It's just that, you know, I was like, it depends on who is on the other side. But I feel like that could be explained in like that self-centeredness, when you feel like your perception of life is the only one that is real. And it's just, I would say that in narcissists is like on 100%, but on majority of people that are like not taking responsibility, it's like on like 30 or 50%, you know. But it's just how intense it is. And like in people that it's like 30%, if you get someone else that explains to you a situation, they will still be like, oh yeah, maybe you're right, and they will go like to see the different picture, versus the narcissist is usually like, no, that's how it is. I mean, that's like my...
I'll give you a perfect example for that. So for example, you can be with somebody, right, for 6 months. You hang out for a long time, whatever, like you spend weekends, or maybe you even go on holiday together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And by the end of the months that you want to have that conversation of this, what are we, where this relationship is going. And the other person could even say to you that, oh, I didn't even say that we were exclusive, right? After 6 months, and then you turn around and you say, you're a narcissist. He's not a narcissist, or she's not a narcissist. You just didn't listen, or you did not want to hear what that person said or didn't say. So this actually is a perfect example I'm giving to you, because that's what people start to throw that to, or he's a narcissist, or she's a narcissist. I'm like, no, she's not, or he's not a narcissist. There wasn't any promises. He never made a promise to you, you know, or she never made it a promise. That in your head you just thought it was like that, but it's not. So that is a kind of like a different thing, kind of narcissistic. Do you see what I mean? Because it doesn't work for them. It's like, no, just because of like his truth doesn't fit in with yours, and it, you know, you're upset about it, you're hurt now, you just want to, you know, throw your toys around. Don't call him narcissist, because does that make sense? But because the whole narcissistic thing is a complete different scenario, which I'm not going to go there. We already talk about it.
Yeah. So I feel like that's actually what we are like promoting here, like being a selfish contributor, because I feel like when you are not 100% in that relationship, it's your responsibility to say it out. Because like you said, a lot of people just end up being in a relationship and they're like maybe 50% for it, or maybe 80% for it, but it's not like 100, like, oh, this is a type for me. So they just settle for less. So I feel like if you feel like something is odd in a relationship, you have to be selfish enough to say it out and just like not go in a relationship. Otherwise, it's like if two people are just like not really sure, but no one has the courage to, you know, say it out there, then you just end up together. And that's what we see out there. A lot of people just being together, and like you said, they don't even know why they end up being in a relationship, you know?
And that's the actually toxic relationship, because when you say toxic relationship, everybody thinking that, oh my God, there's an argument, there's a fight, there's a physical. No, that's a toxic relationship, that two people don't even want to be together, and then they don't even want to have the conversation. They can't even express themselves, and they're stuck in that relationship. That's toxic. You know what I mean? That's actually not serving them, you know, in that aspect, and complete and utterly dysfunctional relationship. But the thing is, like, the key in the relationships, I think it's Tim Ferriss said this, or it might be someone else, can't remember it, but the healthiest relationships are the relationships like two people who are actually willing to have uncomfortable conversations. So basically your relationship strength depends of the amount of uncomfortable conversations that you can have. And what I mean by that, the people tiptoeing around really important topics, right? Because there's a chance that it's going to be painful. They have to stick to truth. And it's going to be conflict, which is, you know, a lot of people fearful of that. So they choose not to talk about it. They choose like pretend like it's all okay. But the thing is, there's no growth, there's no happiness, there's no vulnerability, there's no true intimacy if you don't have those conversations, right? Because when we get into relationships, especially at the beginning part of it, not for the people settled down maybe, but at the beginning, we have attachment to outcome, right? We're too scared that if we say something and they might not want to do it, and then it would end. So it would be better off not to say it. I'm like, who are you lying to? I mean, are you really happy in that relationship? And if that person, no, how you feel? Do you think this is love? Do you think that this is true connection? So, you know, when you're saying about the, you know, doing the work and being selfish in the relationship, you know, we need to be in a position to say, look, I just feel like there's something is not right. And I would love to sit down and talk about it. I don't feel fulfilled. Or the biggest thing is say, I feel like my needs are not met in this relationship.
Mm.
It could be like one of my needs, and it's really important for me that I need to feel safe. And I don't feel safe in this relationship. I'm not saying you don't make me feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
At all, but I just don't feel safe in this relationship, and it is something that I would like to sit down, and the other person could be sit down and say, because the minute that you say to someone that I don't blame you, it's that you don't make me feel safe, I just don't feel safe, do you think we can sit down and talk about it? And if the other person that have the same level of emotional maturity and would sit down and say, okay, thank you very much for sharing with this, because now I know. So first of all, can you just tell me that what makes you feel safe, right? So that gives you space to say the things that what makes you feel safe, right? And then you have to listen to the other person, that if they're ready or willing to give you those things to make you feel safe. But the majority of the people don't want to have that conversation because they're too scared if the other person would say, I'm sorry, but I can't meet your needs in that aspect. They're too scared of that. Yeah. So that's why, the word of they settle in relationships. They settle in something because of they're so scared that if the other person knows exactly what they feel, they're not going to match that.
Yeah.
But how do you know? You haven't even given a chance to the other person.
Exactly. That's so powerful. Yeah, I feel we should be really honest with each other. I think that's like one of my core values when it comes to relationships, because like even if it's painful, I'm kind of like really like now at a point where I'm just like, I would rather have like a super painful conversation than like a super painful experience in a relationship, because I feel like if it's not communicated, then it will result somewhere else in the future. So
well, it's more painful actually. You're saying that it's painful relationship, but majority of people don't realize that actually the quickest way is to go through, because you can stay in that relationship or marriage for, I don't know, like if you want 50, 60 years old, whatever, oh my god, that's death. Staying in a relationship that way you can't be honest and you're tiptoeing around the things that matters to you, or you'd be heartbroken,
yeah,
feel really upset. Just let's say the worst case scenario, 5 years, you'll be completely heartbroken, but after that you're going to be okay. But then like the majority of people choose to stay in that for about 50 years, and they call it, oh my god, we've been married for 50 years, woohoo. And I'm like, well, did you actually do the work, or did you just choose to, that's actually less painful when you tell the truth. Go through the pain, you'll be heartbroken, maybe you're just going to cry, maybe you're going to be upset, maybe it's not going to be ideal, but you'll get over it.
It's choosing the like short-term pain versus the long-term pain, or like
the saying that choose short-term pain in order to have the long-term happiness. It's actually the other way around. Is so much more painful. Like this thing is like that is so much more painful.
That's amazing. I'm blown away. There's so many. I can't wait to already go back and like listen to it again. I just love this episode. So let's see what we are at time. Oh yeah, we are already like where I'm usually with all the people. So I'll just give you like one last question, which is the whole aspect of like, would you say that the way our relationship looks like, it's like, how would you incorporate the self-love in that? Like, is it like self-love first and you just have to really have a perfect relationship with yourself, or is it like you have a relationship and you can still practice self-love? Like, what's the importance? What's your idea around that?
I don't think you can ever be prepared enough to be in a relationship, because unless you get into a relationship, you don't know what kind of stuff is going to come up. But what I would say, yes, the big thing is about self-love. Yes, you gotta love yourself, but I would say just have more, get to know yourself, do the work, understand yourself. And because when you start to understand okay, I'm getting a little bit angry right now, for example, or I'm getting a little bit upset with my partner, but maybe there's nothing there. And straight away, like you'll be like, he's not doing anything. I just know that there's something is happening with me. And then you can just say, look, I don't know what's going on, but I just need a little bit like me time. After work, you go for a walk, maybe like a couple of hours. You put your headphones and maybe relaxing music, a deep breath, and then you start to think about, okay, why am I feeling this way? What is going on? You know, just first of all, you're trying to understand on yourself, you know, on your own, rather than jumping to the person. Okay, and that's you know, and also it's very important to have your own life. So rather than just saying that self-love, I would say that the key is to having your own life. If we just, let's talk about just the girls to make it easier. I'm not discussing exactly the same thing. You know, there's no difference apart from the genders. But for example, make sure that you have your girlfriends. You know, to make sure that you have your holiday with your girlfriends, you have your night out with your girlfriends, and make sure that you have your own routine. If you love going to the gym on your own, don't force yourself. Go to the gym with your partner and just explain that and just say, this is my time, but keep going to the gym. If you go to yoga classes, I don't know, before you're in a relationship, and this is something that you love and you do it 3 times a week, do it. Just make sure you do it, because when you do it, when you're happy, he is going to be happy. Your relationship is going to be happy. But if you stop doing the things that it, you know, brings you joy, really kind of like makes you happy, makes you who you are, then after for a while, subconscious at first, then consciously, you're just going to see, because you're going to explode. You're going to resent him, right? Because you're going to be like, I'm not doing these things for you, and he's going to be like, I never asked you to not to do it. It was your choice. Do you see what I mean? So do the things you like to do. If your favorite thing is in the morning, you know, just you want to go and do your meditation and everything else for an hour, the first thing, I don't know, like I'm just making up, the first thing he likes to do is having sex. He needs to just hold on, you know, because otherwise it's when we don't do what we want to do, we start to resent. And then when we resent someone, there's more and more unhealthy, you know, emotions coming up from there. So I would say that have your own life and be happy with that. Because the happier you are, the more happiness you are going to be able to bring into that relationship. Your happiness will not come from that relationship. Your happiness will come from you. So you need to be happy, then you can make him happy. So majority of the time, girls, boys, they go for that relationship. Oh, my happiness comes from him. But I'm like, well, that's a bit hard, isn't it? Like that's quite selfish in a way, that to expect it from that person to do it. But just be selfish with your own happiness, with your own time. Don't stop doing the things that you like to do. Don't stop hanging out with the friends that you know brings you joy. At times, if you like going to the cinema, don't feel guilty if some of the movies that you want to go on your own. Because when you do all that, like I said, when you're happy, when you feel really good, when your cup is full, when your love tank is full, you can overflow. And then he's going to be happy, because when you're around, you're going to be joyous, you're going to be happy, and he's going to look at you and say, I like this. If going out with her girlfriends, or going out to movie on her own, or just, you know, having 3 times yoga, you know, making her feel this way, I want her to feel this way. I mean, your healthy man would do that. If he's a boy, you better think about it. But if you continue that relationship.
That's beautiful. That's like, you kind of sum it up like so well, especially because you ended up with happiness, which is like my favorite topic to talk about. So I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for this like beautiful episode. I think we all learned so much from you, and I'm sure I will in the future invite you again whenever there is a desire to do more of a relationship talks. So just let people know where they can find you.
Oh, this is embarrassing, but I'm still working on my website. So my website is still under construction. Well, if you just put dilaratetik.com, you'll find my email. I'm very active on Instagram. It's Dilara Tetik Coach. If you put in Instagram, you'll see that I will come up. And I'm very active on Facebook, so you can put like Dilara Tetik. Uh, I'm more active on my personal page than I'm on my business, which I'm changing something. But Instagram is pure content. So I would, if you're just looking pure content, then I would recommend to follow my Instagram page. Like I said, if they put Dilara Tetik Coach, I will come up from that.
Awesome. I'll also put the links in the description, and that's it. Well, thank you very much, and I hope to see you soon in London. I have to come and visit.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it, and I'm just excited to not just listening to this episode, but I'm so excited to listen to all the other episodes. I'm really happy that you're doing this. Actually, it's very important to have these conversations.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm excited for being on yours in the future. Yes. Well, thank you, Dilara, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.